A journey full of delight, excitement, rejuvenation, reincarnation, roller coaster ride, mood swings. Hold on. Can we call it parenting? And if you are parenting the generation Alpha, then allow me to call it parenting with acquired skills. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow thinkers. My name is Ankita Puri, and I thank you all for joining me today in this incredible journey of TEDx, where together we will explore the various dynamics of parenting in the 21st century. I'm happy to share with you all the dynamics I've learned, the insights I've got from my Amazon's bestseller book, Parenting the Alpha Generation. This generation started in 2010 and shall continue until 2024. And once they are all born, this is going to be the largest generation in the entire history of the world, as per the claim made by one of the international research setup shown on the screen. So what does this lead to us? It clearly indicates that we have to put a conscious effort in upbringing this generation and help them to shape a brighter and a compassionate world. Let us understand together, let's zoom in a bit and try to understand what are the qualities that differentiates this generation from the other generations in past. Let's pick up one. Screenagers, yes they are. They're born in the digital age. When Instagram was born, the iPads were introduced, and there are many such examples to mention. This is the generation which has seen the unprecedented time, and they believe to live in the moments of snap. This is the generation which prefers picking a rational conversation over any irrational conversation. There are obvious reasons to mention. The generation lacks in creativity and critical thinking, but they do have an empathetic approach of equality. It's tough to say the generation also mentions out the lack of family values. There are a lot of challenges. We are not going to get into the details of this generation. We may claim that they have a reduced ability of happiness, but let's zoom out and come forward to understand the parenting challenges we face with this generation. With changing dynamics and the changing world, the digital age has changed the very fabric of society, and we as parents are left to navigate through the uncharted waters. I, for myself, grappled through many questions as challenges when I entered parenthood. And I'm sure most of you will resonate with me if you are a parent or you are going through this situation. How do I ensure that I am managing my child's curiosity while maintaining the screen time? How do I help my child to regain his or her innocence in this digital jungle? Is there a way I can imbibe the moral values in the minds of my child? How I wish I know to handle the fragile emotional imbalance the child has. This list of questions continues and is never ending. I delved in extensive interviews, conducting extensive research, and drew from my personal experience to design some functional tools which are a suggestion or a solution to some of these challenges. Let us pick up an example. If we have to imbibe a moral value seed in the minds of the little one, how about this? At the very tender age, whatever we talk to them, let us start telling them the phrase, God is watching you. And any act of deed you do, act of kindness, act of gratitude, good or bad behavior, you are always being watched from the other dimension, and God is going to reward you accordingly. When you keep reminding this statement in the minds of the little one, the child starts developing an approach, a mental setup, that even though the parents are not around, if the teacher is not in the kindergarten, God is still watching me. But as they grow, their reasoned mind starts talking to them. And they start questioning your statement. So here is the time when you rephrase your statement by saying, God is by your side. How beautifully you can turn a fear into a confidence. Whenever you're pepping your child in any sphere of life task, a competition, an examination, performance on a stage, once your pep talk is done, end up with the phrase, God is by your side. And see the magic. The confidence the child gets is beyond your imagination. There are many such tools like hashtag I am impactful journal, gratitude journal, and many more. I take this stage as an opportunity to introduce a very interesting communication tool called hashtag listening wall. As a team, let us go through the 3 phases of this tool, hashtag listening wall: the who, the what, the why, and how to use it. Phase 1 is, what is this hashtag listening wall precisely? This is a very majestic tool which is used to communicate between a child and one of the parents the child is close to. This rule comes with some kind of brackets of rules to be followed. As a parent, if you want to use this tool with your child, you have to agree to the fact that you are definitely not a reactive parent. When I say a reactive parent, it simply means go back in past, look back at your memories, and see how you are reacting impromptu when you are faced with the mistakes or confessions or opinions shared by your child. Because being mindful of the fact that a reactive parent is by default shifting the child to something called a fear zone. A fear zone is actually a false evidence appeared real zone. This generation alpha is very smart. By default, they are categorizing the parents by observing them very closely. It might be a daily routine reaction of yours, but for your child, they have observed your reaction. And when faced with a similar situation in future, the fear zone starts pulling them back. They will hypothetically start imagining the response you will give, and the child will withdraw oneself in approaching you and talking to you. However, let's turn the table 360 degree. If you are a parent who actually settles down and understands the situation, hear out your child, and then take a reaction, that is called respond. Now you are responding to a situation. You can still ground the child. You can still give the punishment you need to do. But now what you have acquired is the trust from your child. The trust is very important when it comes to hashtag listening wall tool. So going back, we lead to a statement, how to use it. Now we have understood so far that here in this tool, the child is going to talk about the deepest emotions, the deepest secret, the opinion, the feedback, or just a conversation which is a random conversation need not to be categorized. But the child needs to speak out. And what are you doing there? In this tool, you are acting like a wall. Relax and think. When you are loaded and you really start talking to yourself, looking at the wall, how light you feel. You feel off-burdened. But imagine at the very same time, the wall starts talking to you. You feel ghosted. Something is surely wrong. So this tool demands you to be a wall which is not going to utter any verbal or a non-verbal gesture. And when you do that, you are doing due justice to use the tool with your child. So how does it work? It comes with a command. The way you are asking Siri what is the weather, or Siri what is the time, the listening wall tool also needs a command. The child has to say, #listening wall open. Whatever you're doing at that moment needs to be prioritized next, because now the child has opened up the mind to speak to you, which is very rare. That little tender heart has picked up all the confidence to speak to you using the tool. So what you do is immediately reply back and say, #listening wall opened. And that's it. Now you are in the role of a wall. You need not to look into the eyes of the child. You may look anywhere, but watch out your facial expressions. You have to make child comfortable. And so the same applies to the child. The child may not look into your eyes, and to feel comfortable might look anywhere in the house to speak to you. There is a high possibility that the child may not even utter a single word in spite of the wall being opened, which is okay. It takes one to be one. The child tried to speak to you, but there is a long way to go. You will not compel the child to talk by giving a facial gesture or a verbal gesture, being mindful of the fact that you are a wall. In either of the situation, whether the child spoke to you or not, the moment you hear it out, #listening wall close. As a parent, you have to reply, #listening wall closed. And that's it. Resume your work. Do what you were doing. Pretend as if nothing happened at that very moment, but now you know what's happening. Inside your brain, you have got the required input related to what's happening in the mind of your child. And the other side, the child feels off-burdened, because for next 5 to 6 seconds, the child is going to observe your behavior, your body language, and going to be far more observant than before. Not to forget Generation Alpha. But if you use this tool a couple of times, you will realize that very soon you will be successful in reaching to a situation wherein the tool is no longer required. So that leads to the final stage of, why do we need this? I'm sure some genius minds must have identified this why part of this tool. This particular tool plays a vital role in bringing out the thought process of your child, which is creating a lot of traumatic explosions in their mind. And now they want to speak out, and they want to continue talking to someone who can actually understand them. And imagine yourself, you get an opportunity to decide on what actions to be taken and to save these little minds in going to some extreme conditions which can be fatal and even sometimes are life-threatening. So to conclude my talk for the day, I would like to say the listening wall is meant for communication and not for echo. And parenting this Generation Alpha is a process of growth, both for the parent and for the child, and help them to make a brighter future. So if you are a parent here, and if you agree with me, raise your hand, turn it this way, and pat yourself, and say you're doing a good job. So this is Ankita, wishing each one of you happy parenting from one parent to another. Thank you very much.